I think what people really dislike that is he dissed his family. The book Spare might have earned him millions, but gosh, he's paid for it. Is Meghan ashamed of her father? Why hasn't Harry met him? She said, I worry for Harry, his sort of feeling of inadequacy with William.
Hello, I'm Matt Wilkinson and welcome to our show, Royal Exclusive. With me today is Editor-in-Chief of Majesty Magazine and Royal biographer, Ingrid Seward. OK, Ingrid, let's jump straight in. So Prince Harry, we know he's in Montecito and we know there's going to be some huge party for turning 40. His father won't be there, his brother won't be there. How do you imagine Prince Harry is going to be, is he going to be happy celebrating his 40th birthday in Montecito?
Well, 40 is supposed to be a turning point in a young man's life. It's, you know, you forget the craziness of youth, and you become more, I wouldn't say more adult, but you become wiser. Now, has Harry become wiser? I think he probably has. And I personally think Harry is very happy in Montecito. There's no reason not to be. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. You've got the mountains, you've got the sea, you've got the amazing climate, and he's also focused on whatever philanthropic work he happens to be doing.
Well, we've heard rumours recently. I mean, they say the Sussexes deny this. They say he's very happy in the US. Yes, he has been reaching back to friends, but he doesn't. But we're hearing these rumours that he wants to spend more time in the UK, that he wants to rehabilitate himself. This Operation Save Prince Harry or Operation Rehabilitate Prince Harry. He wants people in the UK, his old friends, to help him get elements of his past life back in the UK. Do you think that's true? Do you think that's plausible?
I don't think it's very plausible because I really, truly believe that Harry is happy. He doesn't look happy in photographs because he hates being photographed. And of course, we know he's got a war with all of us media, all of us. So I think, when he hears the click of a camera, he puts on that grumpy look, whereas Meghan's got the sort of perma smile. I do think Harry's happy, and I don't think for one moment he wants to come back here. I think he wants to be able to visit, but that depends on the security, and that's another story. I mean, he's always been obsessed about security.
In a colleague we know, Valentine Lowe, former Times reporter, wrote a book, Courtiers, and in it, he said that Harry, or people close to Harry, had said that he feared that he had a shelf life and that he would become an also-ran as he got older. Turning 40, do you think Harry, is kind of running out of time to be a success?
Well, there's another sort of saying that if you haven't made it by the time you're 40, you're never going to make it. But of course, that's not true. And I think that probably in the back of Harry's mind, he thinks, I've got to get on with it. I've got to really go for it now. I mean, he has the success of the Invictus Games, which we all know, but we can't really name anything else. I mean, there's lots of other philanthropic things, but just off the top of my head, I only think Invictus. So I think Harry needs to kind of get a stronger foothold into that world that he says that he wants to promote so badly.
Well, we did get an update this week. His new Netflix show will be coming out in December. It's about the world of polo, and amazingly, they've called the show Polo. Oh God, how did they come up with that title? So he does have his Netflix deal, and he does have that show on its way. But I was thinking about his birthdays. His 21st birthday, he did a video, and he said that William was the only person that he could truly talk to. And then at his 30th birthday, there was a big party at Clarence House. It is quite crazy. His 40th birthday, he's going to be exiled in California with none of the royal family there attending. It is crazy but sad. Well, what are your thoughts?
I think there's a tinge of sadness there. When you think that, 10 years ago, Harry was sitting in the grandeur of Clarence House with all his school friends and his mates from Sandhurst, and and William and Kate and everybody there. Kate was there, wasn't she? Yes, she was there. And now he's in Montecito with a whole new crowd of people that he's only known for probably four years maximum.
Yeah.
So it's very different. but he's moved on in his life, and I think that's very admirable. He hasn't just sat and moaned here. He's actually moved on, and I think that Diana...
He's moved on and moaned there. That's what he's done.
He's still moaning, but that's Harry.
Yeah. I was looking at some statistics as well. I was trying to cast back as far as I could to see Harry's popularity. And I found some statistics from a polling group called Statista, which say in 2019, 71% of those people asked had a positive thoughts about Prince Harry. Now it's only 32%. In 2019, 22% had a negative view of Prince Harry, and 60% now have a negative view of Prince Harry. That's compared to 2019. That's quite damning, though, isn't it, the last few years?
I think what people really dislike that is he dissed his family. Yeah, I think the book Spare might have earned him millions, but gosh, he's paid for it. Oh, he's paying for it still. And I think, especially amongst, the Americans that I know, they hate the idea that he dissed his family. He doesn't speak to his family, doesn't speak to his brother, has never met Meghan's father. I mean, it is very strange. Is Meghan ashamed of her father? Why hasn't Harry met him? And this sort of distancing from family, people find that very alienating. It's quite the opposite to what William and Kate were showing in their most recent video.
Absolutely, yeah. And a birthday celebration, a big number like 40, should be celebrated by the rest of the family.
Well, it certainly should. I mean, it's possible that members of the Spencer family might be there, but I don't...
Okay.
It's possible. I mean, I can't imagine that what Harry calls, I think I've told you this before, but Sarah and Jane, he calls them his red aunts.
Right.
Because they're the Spencer red hair. Well, they were when they were younger.
Well, let's speak about the Spencers. When Harry came over for his uncle, Lord Fellowes' funeral, he was surrounded by the Spencers. Lady Jane Fellowes, who was Lord Fellowes' widow,
yeah.
and also Diana. She's Diana's sister, and his uncle Earl Spencer, and he stayed at Althorpe. If Harry is estranged and no sense of reconciliation from the royal family, are the Spencers the answer to his desire to come back to the UK and build bridges in the UK?
Yes, I think the Spencers probably are the answers. The answer, I mean. I feel that he's always, as he said himself, been very close to his red aunts. And I think that he gets on with his uncle, Charles. And obviously he went to stay at Althorpe for the weekend because, of course, that's where it was Diana's, the anniversary of her death, and that's where she's buried on the island there. So, and I think Harry tries, and certainly used to with William, go every year to visit her grave, as near as anything around the time of her birthday. And I think the Spencers are actually making a big effort to include him. And they've got all, you see, obviously, the Spencer children, if you like, well, they're not children, they're grown up now, Harry's cousins, he's actually become quite close to.
Well, this is your area of expertise, the world of Princess Diana and the world of the Spencers. Do you think the royal family would be nervous about Harry becoming close with Earl Spencer? We always remember what Charles Spencer said at the funeral, where he talked about, we, the blood family, will look after Harry and William. I mean, are we on the road to more confrontation if he's closer to Earl Spencer and the other Spencers?
Yeah, I suppose that's a very good point, Matt. But because King Charles, well, it was Prince Charles then, had this big fallout with Spencer over the funeral arrangements for Diana, and they have never got on. Oh, he's tricky. I mean, I think he's a very intelligent man, but he's obviously tricky. Anyone that's had 3 wives, I think he's had. Can't be that easy, but he's a great historian, and he runs Althorpe, obviously very professionally, and he's. I mean, I met him, but I haven't met him recently, and he was fun, and Diana, of course, was quite close to him, except towards the end, and she really fell out with her brother because she wanted a house on the estate, and there were loads and loads of cottages there. I think we've talked about this before. And he said, no, I can't put up with the publicity and the baggage that you bring with you. And she was really hurt and really angry and refused to speak to him after that, and then went off on holiday with Mohammed Al Fayed, and of course the rest is history.
The rest is history, and is very important to Harry. I mean, he's often talking about Diana, many interviews that he's done in recent years to market his book or to promote his book. He's often spoke about so in depth about the memory of Diana. I was recently reading your book. It's called your most recent book, my favourite book of yours, by the way. And I've said that to you off camera, and I'll say that to you again. I think it's a very good book. My Mother and I. It tells the story of Charles and the late Queen, but in it, there's quite a lot about Princess Diana, and you spent a lot of time with Diana, private. Probably the same distance as we are over a cup of tea or having a glass of water, and then
bit closer, Matt,
and having a nice little chat. She must have many times spoken to you about Prince Harry. She died when he was 12 years old.
He was 12, nearly 13, yes. Yeah. Not many times, but I did really eke it out of her because when I last saw her, which was very shortly before she died, I was writing a book about William and Harry, and I really wanted to talk to her about them. And she opened up, as she always did, and she said that she. At one time, she really worried about William because he had no interest. Yeah, I don't want to be king. That was when they were younger. But then she started to be concerned about Harry because she said he had no interest in learning. He never picked up a book. I know he's dyspraxic, which makes it more difficult. But she obviously really tried to help him. But all Harry really wanted to do was have his mother to himself.
Right.
And he would sometimes, pretend that he was ill at school, so she'd come and pick him up and take him home, and then he could sit watching television with her all afternoon and snuggle up to her. He was a very tactile young boy and very, very close to his mother. And I remember after William went on his gap year, way back on Operation Raleigh, Harry said when he came back, he's much nicer now. So this myth that Harry and William were very close is a myth. They were only close, really close, after their mother died. Of course, they unified, and they were the only two people that knew what it felt like. But they weren't very close as youngsters.
Well, Harry mentions this quite a bit. He talks about the sibling rivalry, and he moaned in spare, saying that he complained that William ignored him when he went to Eton, which big brothers sometimes do. Your younger brother's embarrassing. Yeah. But did Diana ever talk about this sibling rivalry that we're seeing playing out now? I mean, he's called the books. We keep banging on about this book. It was years ago. He called the book Spare. He still has a problem with the fact that he is the younger brother to William. Did Diana ever mention that or see that as a problem between the
Yes,
boys?
I mean, we talked about it quite a lot because she said, I worry for Harry because... and I'm really, really careful that he's not treated differently than William because, for instance, when they used to go and see the Queen Mother, she'd pat the chair and say, come and sit here, William, and completely ignore Harry, and that really upset Diana, and that's one of the reasons she said to me she wanted him to go to Eton rather than some other school which might have suited him better. She said, because she didn't want people to say he's stupid, he can't get in there. She was very concerned about his sort of feeling of inadequacy with William.
So did it play out as children? Did Diana suggest that it was obvious that Harry had a problem with his older brother?
Yes, even when they were very little, when William first went to Miss Minor's, which was the baby school. When Harry first went there after William had been there, they showed the teacher there said to him, "Here, Harry, play with this clay." And so William used to be really good at this, making model figures. So Harry picked up the clay and threw it down and said, no. So from a very, very young age, Harry felt inadequate. Now, it was nothing to do with Diana, nothing to do with Charles, but it was just there. It may have been, maybe it was to do with the nannies, because, of course, I'm not talking about Barbara Barnes, who was completely brilliant, but sometimes the nanny will focus on the more important child. It's just a matter of what happened when Charles was young, and Prince Philip actually fired the nanny. But it could have been that, but he was always very conscious of being second in command.
Did Diana ever suggest a way of resolving that? Did she fear for the future in any way, or did you ever discuss how she thought the boys might grow up with this kind of atmosphere?
I think she feared more, as William was growing up, because he was 15 when she died. Or yes, he was 15, and Harry was 12 going on 13. She worried much more for Harry because she just wasn't sure which way he was going to go. And when he was a little boy, William used to bully him quite a lot, which is perfectly normal. And Harry would always take the blame for the scrapes they'd get into. Again, perfectly normal with young boys. But Diana was very conscious of Harry being a very sensitive child. And she wondered, if it was the right school, what he was going to do. Was he going to follow his love, which was the army, even as a little boy?
Mm. Well, didn't Harry always used to say that he wanted to become a police officer and protect Diana?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Yes, and William used to say, I don't want to be king. And Harry said, don't worry, I'll be king. So it was planted very, very young, that seed of William having the privilege. And Harry, of course, didn't really understand. In a way, it's better to be the spare than the heir.
Knowing what you knew about Diana, as I say many times that you met her, do you think she'd be proud of what Harry has done, or do you think she would not look favourable on his actions from recent years?
I think Diana would be proud of what Harry's done, because Diana wanted to do it herself. She wanted to go and live in America, and she even looked at properties in Malibu, and she had this sort of fantasy idea that she would be much happier in America. Then she realised that of course she'd be separated by 5,000 miles from the boys, and she couldn't deal with that. That was not going to happen. So I think the fact that Harry, I suppose you could say, escaped from the royal fold, I think she'd be very proud of that. What she wouldn't like is this fallout with the family. She would really hate that. She
wouldn't have been happy that Harry had fallen out with William, surely?
She wouldn't be at all happy that Harry had fallen out with William, and she always said to them, please remember, you don't ever forget that you're brothers, and I want you to be friends. So even back then she was talking about it. No, she'd be very unhappy, and that would worry her about Harry. But I think she would be proud of the fact that he managed to make the break.
OK, very interesting. The Princess of Wales. She's back with a bang. We've seen this incredible video that the palace has produced this week, in which wonderful images of the Princess of Wales with her children and William, but also wonderful words saying that she has finished her chemotherapy treatment and is intending to return to work. This is the good news that we were waiting for, isn't it, Ingrid?
It certainly is. I mean, what the Princess hasn't done is actually said when she's going to come back to work, because, of course, with something like cancer, although she's finished the chemo, as she explains, it's not the end of the journey.
Yeah, that was a really important message from her, wasn't it? And she was almost like speaking to other people who have cancer, and I think that's part of her journey, is to kind of communicate with other people going through similar diagnosis.
I think that's what helps her do it, because she is essentially a very private person, and so to be this public and affectionate and open would not be a natural thing. But if she's doing it to help other people suffering, there's a purpose to it. There's a big purpose to it. And I understood, from reading papers yesterday and the day before, that the cancer charities are very happy with what she's done, which is a real feather in her cap.
Well, 100%. She's one of the most famous people in the world. So if she can get a message or a cause across, then then everything for her. You talk about when we might see her again. So we had a briefing ahead of the video, and we did ask, why now? Why are you telling us today? Are we going to see her this week? And they said, not this week, but maybe next week, maybe the week after. So I think we will see her soon, but she is earmarking the return at Armistice Day to be at the Cenotaph and her Christmas Carol concert, but they're asking everyone not to speculate or guess, and if she does pull out of an engagement, don't get too excited. But how welcome was that video, to actually see her with the family, see her enjoying herself? How welcome was the video, Ingrid?
The video was extraordinary. We'd never seen anything quite like it from a member of the royal family, and indeed a future queen, we hope. It was very slick, and it was very sort of nature-focused, because she talked before how nature and love had helped her with her healing. And so it was very much sort of romping through fields of corn, a bit gladiator-like, and war, playing in the woods and playing on the beach at Hokum, all set in Norfolk. It was all done in Norfolk about a month ago. And so it was very moving. And then there was one bit where Kate sort of lets a butterfly out, which just happened to be conveniently sitting in her hand, lets it go. So that is a sort of signal that her healing is on the right path.
I found it really interesting because when it was a tale of three videos, really. We've had, this year we had the farm shop video, obviously with William, when there was all these rumours about, what is really going on with her, where is she? Then we had the when she sat on the bench, and it was a stripped back video. It was just Princess of Wales sitting on a bench, opening her heart, telling everybody what had gone on with, what was really going on with her diagnosis. And then this one was a warm, sepia-toned, happy, upbeat, positive video with her family. And that was what really struck to me, how much of that video was with George, Louis, Charlotte and William. They were really intimate. There was lots of warm cuddles, there was lots of smiles, and you really got the feeling that the family was the most important thing that was helping her through her cancer diagnosis.
And she also brought her parents,
Correct.
Carol and Michael Middleton, into it, because they were playing cards, I think, at Anmer Hall, which was just a brief glimpse of the inside of Anmer Hall. But I think it's very progressive, this kind of video, and I think that William obviously has at the back of his mind that in order to survive, the monarchy needs to keep evolving and changing. And, the older school might say, oh, it was a bit flashy, a bit sort of Hollywood, but I think the people that are going to be William's subjects all loved it and thought, this is a breakthrough, this is showing love and feeling and compassion and, forget the old days of the monarchy being stiff and starchy. That is no longer the case.
No, you're right. I mean, it's something they've been doing the last couple of years. Remember the coronation video, the kind of behind-the-scenes video, and it's really nice to see that they are sharing all, these videos and footage of their family. We can't forget the words. We're distracted by these wonderful images, but she talks about her relief. She talks about cancer being scary and complex, which I think is really interesting, and then says that she has a new perspective on life and a renewed sense of hope and appreciation and taking every day as it comes. And what kind of message do you take from her words that the Princess?
Well, that's interesting, Matt, because way back at their wedding, she said something very, very similar, like, we mustn't forget not these words exactly, but in the rush of the everyday life, we mustn't forget, the love and caring that we have. So this is very much part of Kate, I think. And she really means this. And she's an intelligent woman, and I think she feels that's an important message to get across, is that caring for somebody and having somebody care for you, which, of course, not everybody has at all, but I think she feels very lucky that she has.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I sometimes think watching that video, I think that is something that will stick around. They do a lot of videos, they do a lot of statements, a lot of appearances, but I think the images are so powerful, and the reason behind the video is so important. I could see that footage being played in years to come, or George and Louis and Charlotte being able to watch that video back when they grow older and with a moment of happiness, maybe.
Yeah, and obviously the children are terrific in this video. And, of course, little Louis, being the star he is, pulling a certain little face, and George talking into the camera. And well, actually, when William was a little boy, very, very little, there was a photo call at Kensington Palace. And I remember your Arthur Edwards was there, of course. And there's a wonderful scene where William looks at the TV camera and wants to know what it is. So do you remember that? And he was wearing little shorts. So this is not entirely new, but they didn't do too much like that. That was a bit of a one-off.
Yeah, you're talking about the kind of almost off-camera section of the unscripted part where George is looking into the camera and asking if it's turned on, and Louis is...
So it reminded me of when William was a little boy. William was much younger, of course. I think he was two or three.
He's crawling around on the floor in Buckingham Palace.
No. This was in the gardens of Kensington Palace.
Oh, yes.
before you were born, Matt.
Yeah. Right, we need to get to our quick-fire questions at the end of our chat, Ingrid, if you're ready. What do you think Diana would be most proud of in her son, Harry, now he's turning 40?
I think she would be proud of the fact that he's adopted America as his home. He has an American wife and he has 2 lovely children, and he appears to be very happy. I think she'd be very proud of him, because when you think of what... Harry was never going to just marry anyone ordinary, or he was never going to marry the English rose we hoped he would. It was always going to be something a bit different. And I think that she would be very proud of the fact that he's done that.
The question that follows that, Ingrid, is what do you think Diana would be most ashamed of in Harry's behaviour and current situation?
She would definitely be very ashamed of the fact that he's not speaking to his brother, and that he's, you know, not on great terms with his father, who's 75, nearly 76, and has suffered from cancer. Diana would expect Harry to be a bit more mature than he has been about that. And she also would not be proud of the fact that Harry always seems to be moaning about his lot, because he's a multi-millionaire. He lives in paradise. He's got a beautiful wife and children. There isn't that much to moan about, Harry.
It's worth pointing out that although we know that Charles and Diana had a really difficult marriage, when Diana passed in 1997, they had kind of patched quite a few things up, hadn't they? I think they had had conversations after their divorce, and they were kind of on a better plane at that situation.
They were on a much better plane.
Yeah.
And Diana's... Actually, another thing that she said to me, I've just remembered, she said, "You should have seen the letters we used to write to each other." But of course, they're in the Royal Archives now. But she said, "Don't ever tell me that Charles didn't love me." She said, "He may not have loved me the entire duration of our marriage, but he did love me." And she said, "That's really important that the boys should know that. I don't want them to think that their parents didn't love each other."
Yeah, really interesting. I was talking the other day. We've gone off script from the quickfire questions.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's
sorry.
fine. Just the other day, it's important. We were talking about the anniversary of Diana's death, and what Charles did by flying out to Paris and making sure that her coffin came back on a proper RAF jet and accompanying her coffin back, I thought was totally the right thing to do. And history should judge him very well, although the marriage had its major issues. I think he looked after her very well in her death, so to speak. But that's just me talking. So
Yes.
that's my view. Right. Where do you think Harry will be when he's 50 years old?
That is difficult, Matt. I hope that he will be more established in himself and have some other strings other than Invictus. And I hope that I think he sort of fantasises that he's done all these things now, and he's just collected a few awards. As far as we can see, we don't really know. But it would be nice if he was more established with whatever he wanted to do. If it's a philanthropic role, let it be a really big one. And let him be seen to be doing more good than just, receiving awards. As somebody wrote the other day, he should be giving them out, which of course he does, rather than receiving them. I'd like to see that, and I'd like to see the fact that maybe he had a base here somewhere so that he could come and go when he pleased without too much fuss.
Or a 50th birthday party at Buckingham Palace and appear on the balcony. I'm joking. Right. What would you buy Prince Harry for his 40th birthday?
Ooh. Matt, you're throwing these really difficult questions at me. I would probably buy him, because I love them, buy him a polo pony.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got 4 retired polo ponies, and they do have a rough life when they're working, as we'll probably see in this film that Harry's made for Netflix. But I'd give him a retired polo pony that he could look after, or maybe a whole stable of them.
I think he'd like that. That's actually
Yes,
a decent present. That's not a joke answer. That's a serious answer.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. So he has been a mischievous boy, as we pointed out, a party animal, a hero soldier, a married father, and an exiled prince. Which of these versions of Prince Harry is your favourite?
Mischievous boy, without a doubt. Those cute pictures of him sticking his tongue out and pulling faces. There's a lot of Louis there, a lot of Prince Louis, and you can't help but love him.
Okay. Excellent. Well, we're off back now to hope that our invites to Harry's 40th birthday party arrive in the post, and then we'll update next week. Lovely. Well, thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more royal updates.